Police? No, I did not. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm WAFF digital host Stephanie Obadiku here with your 48 News Now update. Now, in just a few moments, the Huntsville City Police Department, is going to be hosting a press conference to go over the 2025 crime stats. Now, of course, last year they did a similar conference where they announced that even though the population has gone up, crime rates came down. Now, last year we had WFS Noah Cowell here with this story, so I'm just going to go ahead and play you what he did last year, just so you can kind of see and grasp of this whole total thing that we're going to be doing this year.
Has gotten worse in recent years, but he and other HPD leaders came here this morning to set the record straight. Not only has crime not gotten worse, it's drastically improved. HPD leaders gathered this data that shows the frequency of major crimes and violent crimes from 2019 through 2024. Through those 5 years, Huntsville's population kept growing, but major crimes still decreased by 26%. Violent crimes like murder, rape, and aggravated assault dropped by 39%.
We're not sitting here beating our chest saying, look what we did. We're saying that from the perspective of, hey, violent crime is down, crime is down, but we'll continue to work just as hard, if not harder, to make sure that continues to stay that way.
Giles says overall crime decreased 3% in the last year as well, according to HPD records. He and other police leaders credit these trends to their ability to collaborate with other agencies, including Madison Police, the Madison County Sheriff's Office, and task forces on the federal level. They also say the most important way to keep a city safe is to work well with your community.
We work together, we're responsive to our community, and it's not a us against them, it's a we mentality.
As long as we work together, we can accomplish anything and take care of any problem. And hopefully with these relationships that we've established with the citizens, we can continue our success.
While they strive to keep the community safe, Chief Giles urges parents to keep their own children safe by closely monitoring their social media activity. Reporting in Huntsville, Noah Cowell, 48 News, on your side.
Now, of course, in a reminder, that was last year's package that we did. And just to go over some of the key things that I was looking at when we were looking back at last year, we did notice there was Huntsville City Police said that there were 18 homicides in 2024. So 18 homicides. Another notable stat was there was 124 reported rapes and 127 robberies. Now, overall, they said that crime went down. So these numbers are lower than they were from 2023. And of course, there was another big one I think that kind of stuck out to people was definitely that there were 4,600 reported thefts throughout the city and almost 2,900 drug offenses. So in total, there was 175,420 total calls for service. Now, of course, this is just some of the facts and the stats from last year that we reported on and that Huntsville Police shared with us. So this year, we're getting ready to learn what those are looking like this year. Now, the press conference is getting ready to start in a few moments, but we still are waiting for Huntsville Police to get started. So, of course, and a reminder for anybody that's just hopping on right now, Huntsville City Police are getting ready to host a press conference to go over crime statistics from 2025. And of course, crime is always a big topic amongst everyone, and especially with the population growing the way that it is, people are always a little skeptical just to kind of hear what these stats are and how they've changed or improved. And I know 18 homicides were definitely, of course, that was something that people were eyeing a little bit. So I guess we're going to now see how that compares to this year. So 18 in 2024, and in just a few moments, we'll find out how many this year. And I believe they are still working on getting started. So for anybody else that's just now hopping on, I'm just going to go over those numbers again, just so we know what we're looking at for this year when listening into this press conference. So 18 reported homicides, 124 reported rapes, 127 robberies, around 4,600 thefts, almost 2,900 drug offenses, and 175,420 total calls for service. Now, of course, these are the numbers that Huntsville City Police are saying went down from 2023. So the crime trend, even though the population is going up, the crime trend last year was going down. So we'll see if those numbers are still the same or if they're getting ready to change. Now, the press conference is about to start. They are up there right now, so we're going to go and jump right into that.
City Administrator John Hamilton and our city council members that are here. Your presence here shows the support that you provide to us day in and day out. It does not go unnoticed. We're able to achieve these things that we're going to talk about. We would not be able to do that without your guidance, your resources, and your commitment to public safety. So we're grateful for your partnership and your dedication to making Huntsville a safe city for everybody. So with that said, our city is one of the fastest growing cities in the country, and growth brings responsibility and opportunity. Our responsibility to HPD is very simple, to ensure that public safety keeps up with that growth. Today we're going to share our latest crime data, but it's not just the numbers themselves, but what they mean, where we're seeing progress, and what our next focus will be. But before we get into that, I want to make sure you understand that these numbers, what they actually represent. They represent people, families who deserve to feel safe in their homes, businesses that rely on safe streets for their customers and employees, and victims whose lives have been impacted by crime. But crime data itself is not abstract, it's personal, and it demands context, accountability, and transparency. Since 2019, Huntsville has seen reductions across most major crime categories, even as our city has continued to grow. But it does not mean the work is done. Progress matters, but every statistic represents a real person, and we take that responsibility very seriously. And with that, I'd like to introduce Kurt Warshak from the North Alabama Multi-Agency Crime Center, who will walk you through the data and the trend, and then tell you what these numbers mean about keeping Huntsville safe. Kurt.
Thank you, Chief. And again, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, John and City Council, for all your support for both the Police Department and the Real-Time Crime Center. We've made some incredible progress over the last several years, and we're kind of excited to share that with you today. We're going to do this a little bit backwards today. We're going to jump right into 24, 25 details, and then we'll walk you back out and kind of let you see how successful the department with the city support has been over the last several years. So explain a couple things to you here very quickly. On the left-hand side of the chart, you see the red dots and the orange dots. At the national level, and one of the things that has made Huntsville #1 for multiple years over the last several years, are certain crimes that are committed are collected at the national level. And that's what you're seeing on the left-hand side is what's considered violent crimes, red dots, and then major crimes, which are the orange dots. And those orange dots collectively across the board represent what gets published nationally. One of the things I'm proud of working with the department is the department always goes above and beyond to be transparent with the community and work diligently with the community to solve and deter crime. And so in addition, we add 3 more categories beyond what the national requirement is in terms of what we report. So again, another incredible good news story. In 24 to 25, violent crime is down 18%. Violent crime is murder, forcible rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. And then major crimes, again, beyond that is down 9%. And then, of course, you've got the totality of it. You're adding aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, and motor vehicle theft. And then annual reported offenses, everything that we report to you annually in our annual report, is down a total of 6%. On the last bar there, what you're looking at is a 5 to 6 year trend, and that's what's really important to us. Inside the crime center, we have multiple teams, but one of those teams is headed by Investigator Scarborough, and that's our intel team. And they work diligently to provide weekly stats for the tactical with analysis. They provide quarterly stats for the strategic efforts of the department, and they also obviously provide all the work that goes into this annual report. And so again, thank you, Joe, for all the work that you and your team do. So trending, what's significant are the no kidding vertical downward arrows. This city, despite a 24% population growth, is trending downward, and that's huge. It's borderline miraculous if you think about all the things that are going on across our country. Some of the successes that we've had specifically this year, you see that aggravated assault, robberies, burglary, and even motor vehicle theft are down somewhere between 20 and 28%, and that's significant for an annual reporting. One of the things I'd like to point out on the motor vehicle theft is we would contribute some of that, at least, into the application of technology. I know there's a lot of concern about license plate readers and the things they do and don't do, and there's a lot of false reporting. I will tell you that. I'd love to talk to you about it if you have questions, but I promise you that license plate readers are the reason that 150 less cars got stolen this year, and I think that's huge for our citizens to understand. So big picture, and let me start by saying this. I know it's a little bit cliche, but the stars aligned around 2019. And really what happened were a multitude of strategies aligned to deter and reduce crime in the city of Huntsville despite this massive population growth. In the 2015, 16, 17 timeframe, there was, and it was very clear, there was an indication that crime was increasing as the population was growing. And that's just logical, right? As your population grows, it would seem likely that your crime's going to grow. And then there was a little bit of a plateau in the 17, 18, 19 timeframe. And the leadership, the city leadership, of course, working with the police department, the chief of police, and the deputy chiefs, really started focusing on some key factors that caused this to happen. And think about this, 24% population growth, yet major crime in our city has decreased by 33% over the last 6 years. That's incredible. Violent crime has decreased by 50% in the last 6 years. That is an amazing story. Again, while the population is growing by 24%. Key factors. Number one factor is the department has an incredible group of officers, group of leaders who are out there on the street every day interacting with our community. And flip side, a community that's engaged with our officers and the city's leadership, understanding that having a city with low to minimal crime is critical to the city's success and our safety. And so I would obviously give that number one priority. On top of that, again, the collaboration between our citizens and our officers and the city leadership has been a tremendous benefit that maybe other cities don't experience much like we do. The other thing that's very interesting to me, and we've studied this, our intel guys are not just collecting data. They spend hours upon hours doing analysis for us, for the department, for the city's leadership. The economic environment in this city is 1 for 1 in terms of the crime rate. And let me explain that. I moved here in the year 2000, and the dominant job set was a retired military officer like myself, or Colonel Hamilton. It was engineering or information technology, and that was dominant. If you weren't in that field or supporting those fields, you probably couldn't find a job. I've actually talked to security people in the manufacturing industry here in Huntsville, and I know for a fact that vans have pulled up to our jail and picked up people getting out of jail and taken them to work on the lines in their factories. The economic environment has changed dramatically here, and it's changed because of our city leadership, the city administrator, and the team that they've put together. You can't not find a job in the city of Huntsville. Henceforth, violent crime is down by 50%. Henceforth, major crime is down by 33%. And that is probably one of the top factors. The other thing that we really started focusing on in 2018, 2019 was interagency collaboration. I would tell you, having been on the outside prior to the last 6 years, the police department is much like the military, very type A personalities. They like to do their own things. Getting them to work together is a challenge, but it's one of the things that our chief and this city leadership has done an incredible job of making sure happens. In the last 12 months, we've worked with 20 federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies to make this happen for the city of Huntsville, and that's amazing if you think about it. The other thing we do really well in the last several years is data-driven policing. We are focusing our resources where the crime is occurring. That's both predictive, real-time, and reactive. And then finally, I think a small part of what we're doing successfully is applying technology to the solution. We will never replace our officers. Our officers are the tip of the spear. And what we're trying to do is give them technologies that will help them to do their job better, faster, and more efficiently. And the result is this, and it is absolutely amazing. And again, I would like to thank the mayor and John and the chief for producing what you see before you today. Chief?
So what you've seen today provides a clear picture of where we stand, the progress we made, and the challenges that remain, and the data guiding where we focus our efforts going forward. These numbers reflect many moving parts: a growing city, continued investment in technology, analysis, strong partnership, and a community willing to engage and work along beside us. But behind every chart and every percentage point are people doing the work. There are officers working day and night, responding to calls and protecting neighborhoods while our citizens go about their business. There are investigators building cases piece by piece, hour by hour, supervisors making critical real-time decision analysis, or analysts, I should say, identifying patterns and helping direct resources where they're needed the most. Communication staff answering the calls that initiate every response that we do, and support personnel making sure that this department is running and conducting the mission that we've set forth. Together, these men and women turn their efforts into real results, and the results turn into safer streets. We'll continue to share what we see and adapt and invest where it matters most. And we'll continue to show up day and night in every neighborhood, on every shift, doing the work that keeps the city safe. And before we conclude this, I want you to notice that the command staff is here. Those are the men that make sure these missions are carried out. For the men and women in this department who work for them, it takes everybody in here. And I appreciate the work that you guys do. So this is our commitment, our purpose, and our promise to the people we'll serve. And at that point, we'll take questions if there is any. Okay, thank you very much.
Any questions?
Go ahead.
Tell me a little bit about why do you think this is happening? Why do you think the crime is dropping so rapidly in Huntsville?
Well, we probably can both come in on that. For one thing, as he mentioned, we started back in 2019. We saw a trend coming, and decisions were made at that point in time to this was the direction we were going to go in. So it's focused, sustained work to work to deploy officers in areas where they need to be at certain times when they need to be there. Also, to be able to build stronger cases for our investigators, which mean getting more convictions in court and try to get these people off the street. There's really no single reason. If you'll notice the factors on the bottom of this, all those things play in the part. There's no one thing that happened, but we're very fortunate that it happened here.
And then tell me a little bit more about the data-driven policing. You talked about, putting police in areas where crimes were happening. How has that helped? And tell me a little bit about where are some of those areas that you've been having heavier police presence, just stuff like that.
As far as the precinct areas?
Yes.
Okay, so the precincts, of course, are split up geographically across the city. And within each area, they have their own responsibilities, or certainly hotspots, as we may call it. So one of the things that comes up sometimes is how people feel safe in their homes. And, how you feel in your home is perception of reality. With that, each precinct has community relations officers. And we welcome each citizen to call if they ever have an issue in their neighborhood or things that they're unsafe or feel unsafe about. Because the thing is, perception driving that reality, but it may be, I hate to say it, sometimes we look at social media, sometimes we look at news reports. There's certain news media here that will on social media that will focus on a crime that didn't even happen in this area, and people don't take the time to look and see where that happened. Even I noticed that. So having said all that, keep in touch with your precinct. Know who your precinct commanders are. And then another thing we also advise them to do is to join a community watch or form one in the neighborhood. There's a lot of different options for people to do.
With the growing city, obviously the numbers are good. Are there areas that you feel like at this point you need to refocus on or concentrate on as far as certain crimes? Always. We look at that literally day in and day out, and we focus our area and deploy officers to those particular areas because crime is mobile. It moves. And so as soon as we hit one area, they're going to move to another. So we stay on top of it the best we can. And we depend on the citizens for that as well. Anything you want to add to any of that? Okay.
Sorry about that. If you happen to have the information available, how do these statistics maybe compare to other similar cities in the U.S.?
I'm sorry, say it again.
How do these statistics at all compare to other maybe similar cities around the area or in the U.S.? Are these trends reflected in other areas too, or is it just Huntsville? Is Huntsville unique?
Well, I can't say it's just Huntsville. I have noticed that other cities are experiencing some downward trend in crime, but I don't know that other cities are experiencing a 24% increase in population. So certainly with that said, it's different. It's hard to compare, I guess you say, apples and oranges.
And what are those areas that you're looking to improve in the next year, 2 years, 3 years?
We want to continue the technology, vet the technology, and use it appropriately. Of course, the areas, it also takes our staffing, make sure our staffing is up to par to serve the Huntsville, because we're not going to stop growing. That's pretty evident. And so we have to keep up with that.
And is there any specific technology that you've introduced in the last year that you think really helped?
I would let Kurt answer that question. I've got my own opinion, but I'll let him answer that one.
So in the Real-Time Crime Center over the course of 6 years, one of the things that we learned is one of the primary challenges in terms of our ability to respond to the customer, which is our citizens, right? Our job is to protect them and to hopefully deter crime from happening in the first place. It is time. It is the time between that 911 call where someone is desperately screaming for aid and the ability of our officers to respond to that scene. And even if it's just putting eyes on the scene so that you can discern what the resources are that are necessary. So I'm going to tell you what we're really focused on right now, and that is using drones as first responders. We think it has the potential to make a radical improvement to that responsibility. Currently, the average time of response, and we're not finished with the numbers for this year, so I'm just going to tell you what the average is over the last several years, is somewhere between 6 to 9 minutes. That's average. It can be 30 seconds. It can be a little bit longer, but that is the average response time. We've been testing drones as a first responder for about the last 18 to 24 months in a very low profile test just to make sure that it works, that the community's comfortable with it, they're comfortable with the concept. And I will tell you, we've got response time somewhere down between 3 and 4 minutes. I'm not happy with that. I think with DFR we can get the response time down to potentially under 2 minutes, which means I have a set of eyes discerning what's going on at that scene very quickly. And then operationally, with inside the crime center, we can assist in directing resources to that particular crime or multiple crimes that happen. Most often there's more than one happening on any given phone call. And so that would probably be the area that we're truly focused on, and that we're going to come to the mayor and city council. It's expensive, but it may very much continue to propel us this direction.
And then we were talking about, community engagement. What have you guys heard from the community so far about these crime statistics over the past couple of years?
Chief?
Would you mind repeating that question?
So when we're talking about, community engagement, what have you heard from those living in the community about crime stats over the past couple of years? Are they seeing this in real time? Or are they asking for more? What are the people around the community wanting?
It depends on who you talk to. Because again, that talking about perception, if you, when you watch media reports in the mornings and you hear certain things happen, I've had people come up to me, oh my gosh, what's all these shootings? Well, all the shootings not necessarily Huntsville. And so the perception is we're having a rash of shootings when we're not. And I think the numbers bear that out. So we try to explain those things. Of course, the councilmen have their own town halls where the same thing's addressed with them. And we push this information out. We have our Citizen Advisory Council, who some of the members are here, and I appreciate your attendance, to do the same thing when they have, a matter of fact, there's a town hall tonight, if I'm not mistaken. And we encourage people to come to those because we push these statistics out. And certainly this will be another way. There'll be somebody who'll look at this and say, well, I don't think that's the case. Well, I need that person to call us and say, okay, what's the issue where you live in, and let us address those issues.
Callie, Ashley, Maddie, Caleb, Greg, I appreciate it. With everything going on, you see the direction we're going. Impressive numbers, we've got to get back to work. So we're going to conclude this conference.
Alrighty, so that concludes the press conference. Now, I wanted to point out some of the things that Chief did say and some of the statistics that we heard about today. So, according to Huntsville City Police, since 2019, violent crime rates are down 33%, even though the population has grown greatly since then, as well as there was a slight increase in homicides from 18 in 2024 to 21 in 2025. So that was, of course, another one that people are always looking at. And total offenses from 2024 are down 6%, according to authorities. So now that's what we have for you today. We're going to break this down and have a later story for you in later editions of 48. Thanks for joining us today.